Howdy y'all, welcome to Hayes and Barrel Craft Works here on the Hayes and Barrel Homestead and our humble whiskey room. I'm the Alchemist. Well, welcome to that transition week here between, Christmas and New Year's, where you end the festivities of one and you prepare for the festivities of another. And as we're in that transition week, well, Mother Nature decided to transition too. We had a bit of a warm up here in my small town, South Dakota, and it was quite nice. Got a little bit spoiled. I was walking around, and even though it was only about 40 degrees here, I was walking around in t-shirt most of the time, because when you go from negative temperatures to 40 degrees, it seems like a heat wave. And now Mother Nature decided, well, it's time to cool us right back down into the chill of winter. Negative temperatures again today, for the rest of the week, and for the foreseeable future. And I don't know about y'all, but for me, I can't think of any better way to warm you up from the inside out than with a really good whiskey. And when I think about warming myself up with a really good whiskey, well, you need just a little bit of proof. So I thought from this week and throughout January, with some whiskey and explore some of those proofs on these whiskeys. And I thought we'd start this week with whiskeys in that, 110 teens range, but keep it below 120. And where I started today, Monday, is with one that I really enjoy, and that's Minor Case. This is a rye whiskey that comes in right around, 114 proof. It's on here somewhere. Nope, I'm wrong. This one is 110 proof. So it comes in right at 110 proof, so just meets my mark for this week. But I had to pick it because it was a surprisingly good one for me that I picked up and enjoyed this one. But this one's got a fun story for me as well as I looked at this one, and it's been a story I've been wanting to tell for quite a while. And you look at the name Minor Case, and it's not a name that Steve and Paul from Limestone Distillery, or Limestone Branch Distillery, just picked because it sounded creative. Nope. Minor Case is the name of the, I don't know how many greats are in front of that there, but the great to so many degree grandfather of both Steve and Paul, the owners of Limestone Branch Distillery, and I should add, Steve and Paul Beam. That's right, Minor Case, his name was Minor Case Beam. And back in the 1800s, Minor Case was actually working hard to be a rival to his cousin, Jim Beam, James B. Beam, the founder and namesake of the Jim Beam we all know and love. And he was up and going. He had bought a distillery back in the 1800s, and Minor Case Beam a lot of times went by MC Beam, and this is what he named his distillery back in that time. And he had run other distilleries before that as well, so he knew what he was doing. Distilling was in the Beam family, deeply entrenched. And then Prohibition hits in the 1920s, right? And both Jim Beam and Minor Case Beam were shut down. They did not get their licenses for producing medicinal whiskey. But they both had a very similar concept. They both wanted to prep and be prepared and ready to go, because they were both convinced that Prohibition would not last forever. And as we all know, by how things have gone for us today, we see Jim Beam is a huge brand all around the world, but where's Minor Case? Unfortunately, in 1934, shortly after Prohibition was repealed, Minor Case passed away, and along with it was the drive, the know-how, the knowledge, the recipes, everything for all of Minor Case's whiskey, and he never flourished. But his great to whatever degree grandchildren, Steve and Paul, did start Limestone Branch Distillery down in Kentucky to revive Minor Case's whiskey. And even though the distillery is running, this one, from what I understand, and if you all know more than I do, because I am not a Limestone Branch expert in any way, I just love reading on some of these whiskeys that I find, and from what I could find on this one, what I understand is this rye whiskey is not actually distilled in Limestone Branch, but they do select it from MGP, a very well-known distillery that distills and barrels a lot of whiskey for other brands. And this is a 51% rye whiskey, 45 corn, and then the rest malted barley. But it still stands out to me. And one thing that is very curious for me are some of the really good notes and flavors on this one, and palate on this one. And when I first go in on the nose, one thing that I've got going for me is, as you can see, I've got, excuse me, I've been into this one, so I've got the advantage of not having neck whiskey on this one. So I can get a good nose. And I get a nice sweet plum note on this one. This is the first thing that stands out to me, is as a sweet plum note. But being a rye whiskey, I also get a nice herbalness to it. And that herbalness to me is like a fresh, clean mint. And I really enjoy this. And another thing that's great about this one, for me, oh man, that's nice. That combination of that plum and that fresh herbal mint, quite inviting on the nose. Sorry, I get distracted when I get a whiskey that's this inviting and this nice. I get distracted, but any of y'all who have watched me much see me as I get lost, see me as I get distracted. So there you go again. There's another example. But what I was saying is, one thing that's very nice about this whiskey too is the price point. I believe I picked this one up for right around that $50 mark. And for one that's got this much depth of character in it, that's pretty good at $50. And there we go too. There's nice legs on this one. They start out pretty quick. Of course, I've been rolling this glass for a while. They come down slowly. But let's go in for our sips, see how things develop as I sip this one. Yeah, a nice viscosity on the palate, but not quite to the point of being creamy, but it's oily and viscous. the first thing that hits you after you get that oiliness is that mintiness. Nice herbal minty rye, very nice. And any y'all who watch me know that I love when the proof hits you on the tip of the tongue, and this one just nicely hugs the tip of the tongue and then slides back a bit to the mid palate, hugs you all the way around there, but it doesn't last long. It's not intense, it's not obtrusive in any way, just hugs you nicely to warm you up for winter. As it slides down, warms you nicely just a little bit, but it's not overwhelming. What I'm getting more is that nice mintiness, and as it sits here a little bit longer, oh, some nice barrel. I believe that this one is, I had it in my head that it was a 6 year, but I do not, yeah, age 6 years. So this is a 6 year. So I am getting a bit of barrel on this that I really like. So that nice sweet plum, nice minty herbal rye. The 110 proof to me is not a lot. Is not overpowering in any way. And there's a lot of people who when I watch other reviews and things that say that 110 to 120, just under 120 is that sweet spot of proof. Okay, there's a lot to be said for that. A lot of definition, a lot of character, a lot of depth in this whiskey, especially at the price point. And as this one sits on my palate and I get that finish, I love how that barrel develops on my palate. That barrel is nice. It's not what I would call tanniny. It's just a nice oakiness to it, and that mintiness still is just on my palate, like I've just freshened my breath with a nice mintiness, really nice. And the last thing that lingers in there is the sweetness. But when I say linger, it's there, but it's subtle. It's behind everything else, and it's subtle. The most prominent note is that nice rye mintiness. I'm going to take a few more sips. I do want to see how this develops, because there was one thing about this one that intrigued me quite a bit, and I want to see if it's still there or if it was a one-time thing and it's gone away. So let me see if it comes back. Oh, so nice. That combination of all those flavors. You know, I'm not getting it back on this time around. But in the beginning, on the neck pour, and the time after that I cracked this bottle, I could have swore that I was getting, even though this is an MGP, and I knew it was an MGP at that time, at least because I researched it a little bit, I could have swore I got a little bit of that beam nuttiness on it. So I was curious, and I did more research, and I couldn't find anything. I was curious if Limestone Branch gave MGP mash bill, yeast strain, grains, and everything to use to distill this for them, but I couldn't find anything on that. And I was curious if they had, being in the Beam family, if they had some of that fantastic Beam yeast strain that is supposedly, as the story goes, the secret behind that that delicious beam nuttiness that is more pronounced for me in the higher end bottles of beam. And I thought I had it in this one on the neck pour today. Sadly, it's not coming out for me, but you know, that's the fun thing about whiskey and what I enjoy about whiskey. Everyone's palate is different. Everyone can get different notes from the same bottle, from the same pour. And a lot of times it's different each time I have the bottle. It's like a new expression from time to time. And today, no nuttiness, sorry to say. But that doesn't mean it's a bad one. I still enjoy this pour. Very good to me. In fact, it's so good to me on my massive bottles that have expanded from the overfilled shelves down onto the floor. I actually, somewhere in here, yep, there it is. Had to have a backup bottle. That's how much I enjoy this one. So it's quite good. If you find it, I'd snag a bottle of Minor Case. But as y'all know, I love to have y'all coming back around. So please, take it easy. Don't drink and drive. Cheers.